Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas. Today we have a very important topic that deals with the challenges which our world is facing and we are also facing on individual basis. These challenges come in the form of shaking our inner stability, external threats, external insecurity, and a sense of uncertainty when it becomes a part of our day-to-day life based on what we read and hear through newspapers and television. We develop a sense of additional stress and tension. How to deal with that and how it is affecting us internally. I have the pleasure of welcoming someone who has helped many people and is helping as a mind trainer and spiritual counselor. Our friend Dr. Nitin Saraswat joins from Jaipur. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for having me on the show, sir.
So I want to begin by requesting you to talk to us about the lack of inner stability leads to a sense of aggression and how to address it and what is it that is happening due to this sense of aggression on the roads or at home in terms of how one relates to other family members and in general your take on this particular challenge.
Thank you. And I would like to take you to this word aggression because it is not just aggression that is the problem. How aggression is exactly permeating into the whole life, every part of our life, and how it is impacting the quality of our life. Let me start by some data, how aggression is actually making lives more dangerous and less livable. 2021, 728 road rage incidents in America only had guns involved. And out of these 728 incidents, there were 522 deaths. In India, every lakh people on the road, 33 face the situation of road rage, which is pure aggression without a reason. 54% of the deaths on the road all over the world are caused by aggressive driving behavior. If I add one more dimension to it, then there is a passive aggression called death by suicide. That is also one kind of a passive aggression. If I add shootings that happen, if I add the criminal shootings that happen, the emotional shootings that happen, and if I add one more thing to it, and that is the kind of shouting that is happening in the families, we can understand how aggression is actually a menace that is becoming a real danger to the quality of life that we live.
Okay, so
So
let's
that is what we are
yeah.
addressing.
As I became impatient for asking my question, many people are impatient and they end up either interrupting at the wrong time or acting in a way which doesn't let them have a complete understanding of the situation and their role in the particular situation. And that, as you mentioned about road rage. So, what is it that you would say is the root cause of this aggressive behavior?
We have to understand there's a beautiful Panch Tantra story. So there were 5 disciples of a very learned, wise guru. And the guru taught them how to bring a dead to life again. They learned the art, but they did not know how to use the art. So what they did, the first day out of their Gurukul, they were going through a jungle. They saw a lion skeleton and brought that back to life, resulting into the lion eating them all up. So there was a lion which was dead. There was an art which the West had, and unfortunately, some people with less wisdom used that art some people use that art to create a Frankenstein's monster, that is aggression. Aggression, which is becoming a new normal of the life. So when a motivational speaker told you to be a go-getter, the motivational speaker meant try until you succeed. The motivational speaker, or the Western way of becoming an aggressive go-getter, never meant don't deserve but desire. What is happening here is we are losing the art of patience. We are losing the art of adjustment. We are losing the art of acceptance because we are misinterpreting the message of being a go-getter. And it is becoming more like we are using wrong interpretation of the Western philosophy of being aggressive in trying to get what you want in life.
So, Nitinji, I want to add another dimension to this, and that is related to our lifestyle. It is neither West or East philosophy, it is the convenient way of living as well as the available technological toys or gadgets that we have. And I would put the role of internet and smartphones also in making us less patient. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely. That's the, in one word, it's the speed. The problem is we have increased the speed of life crazy because we are always in a hurry. We are in a hurry to achieve. We are in a hurry to have pleasures. We are in a hurry to go ahead. That all these tools are making us crazy, very speedy, and we are getting more and more disconnected from ourselves.
So now, in order to stay connected to ourselves, there must be some tools that one can apply and modify one's approach towards normal day-to-day activities. And let us go back to road rage. And in addition to the way we have driving license, I think the the mental aptitude test should also be there. How patient this person would be if there is a lot of traffic, and not just the others cutting and trying to go ahead of you. It is just the sheer traffic, whatever city you are in, and there are so many cars now. So you need additional patience, whereas that is becoming less and less. So what can be done?
I had a crazy idea when you were speaking about the license. If I am given the power, I would suggest to have an emotional quotient license. So what I would suggest is that all of us, it must be mandatory, like a driving license. It must be mandatory for everyone to have an emotional quotient license. And everyone who fails to qualify must be taught how to develop emotional quotient. And what is emotional quotient? Emotional quotient in the simplest word is handle on your emotions. You handle your emotions or your emotions handle you. Because what we do not realize mostly, we are permanently damaging life's peace and the quality because of temporary emotions.
Okay, so here is a question, Nitinji. You say that tame your emotions or control your emotions, and most of us end up identifying ourselves with a particular emotion. I am angry, I am happy, I'm afraid. So that takes away my whole way of thinking. And when I'm identified with anger, then it is very difficult for me to be a witness and sort of navigate my anger or go beyond it. So, what is the simple practice that might help on this level?
The simplest of the practice is to realize what triggers my anger. There are four basic emotions that we need to look at and start working. Two mandatory, two optional. Number one, anger. Number two, fear. Number three, jealous. Number four, love.
How do you, how do you put anger, fear, jealousy with love? Because love is normally considered as a positive emotion. But
Oh,
when you put that
yes.
in this bracket, I just want to understand why would you put it in this bracket? Because as we say that smile is a way to solve a lot of problems. Same way, any problem exists because of lack of love is what I heard. So when you put that with anger and fear, you have something else in mind that I'm trying to understand. Please explain.
There are many emotions. I had to choose four. So I chose four which impact us in the most emphatic manner. And love, why I chose with these three emotions, because love is the solution to all these three problems.
Got
At
it.
least most of the problems will get, if nothing, mellowed if you have love in you. If you know how to practice love. And unfortunately, we think love is something that doesn't need to be practiced, it doesn't need to be learned, etc. But it is something that needs to be worked upon. Most of the people do not know that loving is different from getting attached or getting possessive.
So I was just coming to this. Many times people end up considering being in love means having very strong need to possess, and that also resulted into fatal acts, which again becomes the headline of newspapers. So to understand love in its pure form also is kind of not happening in many cases.
Absolutely. That is why to understand love, because again, it becomes a cliche. It is used so much that now when we say understand love, actually the the trodden sentences will make it less effective. So when I say understand love, I just want to say, can we be selfless? Can we do some selfless acts where there is no return? We can start practicing love. So what was the easiest way the world was taught to love? It was in the form of prayer, that you are praying. And when you go to Buddhist temples and the Jain temples all over the world, I was shocked to see a statement. And the statement is, when you go to Sri Lanka, I'm fortunate enough that I've worked and I've crisscrossed whole Sri Lanka. So the Buddhist temples have a rule that when you go to Buddhist temples, you cannot ask for anything. And I was shocked when I was reading one of the Upanishads, and it was written that even in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, there's a shloka that when you are praying and you are praying with a desire, actually that's not a prayer. That's not a purest form of prayer. So it is one way of love, that can you be selfless in for the modern world. To make it easy, Can you do some selfless act daily? That is practicing love. Because if you know how to do some selfless act daily, you will develop few things that are antidotes to these three problems. That antidote to aggression, antidote to fear, antidote to jealous.
That is a beautiful way. And let us look at the possible acts that you would consider as selfless acts. Because uh, if there is a student, in his or mind, he has certain structure that he or she is following for the day. And so talk to me about what are the potential selfless acts that you would consider um, are are possible actually. So either you find some organization which is working, or so. Uh, Now let us go to you. What is it that you consider as selfless act that you have found yourself? If it is not a secret, kindly kindly share.
So I am connected to more than 10 NGOs. I donate my time. I donate my time to Indian Armed Forces, and I work for anyone with a suicidal tendency and not having money, free of cost. And that's my way of trying to be selfless. Besides that, whenever I can spare time or whenever anyone needs my time, I want to stop calculating in a relationship how is it going to benefit me. So that's how I practice selflessness. And no matter how less or how more I earn, I try to take a part of money away and give it to those who need it more than I do.
That's beautiful. I appreciate that sharing, Nitinji. It's very inspiring. And I'm also reminded of, I don't remember it exactly, but it was Nadi अपना पानी नहीं पीती है, उस तरह का कुछ था।
Yeah.
और जो वृक्ष है वो अपना फल नहीं खाता है। इस प्रकार से जो साधु है उसका जन्म परमार्थ के लिए हुआ है, दूसरों के लिए काम आने में। और and again I'll bring this, or I'll underline what you just said. The real joy that we as human beings have, it lies in being able to help someone, and that fills us with a sense of satisfaction. And as you said, it connects us with the beautiful flow of life within. But now, coming back to road rage and the potential solutions that we have in terms of our approach, there I also would recollect the aspect of spirituality, or understanding about oneself beyond the visible form. uh, Probably that makes you more accepting of the situation as well as of the people, even though they may not be yes man or yes woman all the time. You can, as you were mentioning, you can go beyond the emotion that starts gripping you at that particular moment. Please elaborate on how to develop this attitude.
So the point is that when you talk about spirituality, we have to understand that spirituality doesn't have to be necessarily religious. If you are religious, you can be spiritual. If you are not religious, even then you can be spiritual. What is spirituality? Spirituality is finding an inner connect with yourself. It's a cliche, but again, I would love to quote it, that when you start understanding that achievements are not your journey, these are just the destinations in your journey, then when you start asking yourself a question, what actually is my journey? That is the spirituality. When you start connecting to your inner self more, that is your spirituality. When you start questioning how emotions, temporary emotions, can take control of me, when you start seeking control of your mind, when you are not a monkey mind anymore, At least you have a desire not to be a monkey mind. That is spirituality. So when you are spiritual, aggression, fear, jealousy, they get automatically resolved. I tell you something very interesting. When I get patients who are deeply depressed, and I am finding that it difficult to take them out of depression, I have many NGOs. I send them to those NGOs and I ask them to work for the people, for social, to some kind of social service. You will be surprised, Ashok ji. 99.99999% of them come out of depression just by being with people, helping people. The problem is we are not being with people, we are becoming very lonely. We are not becoming selfless. So it's all about calculation in the mind. And we have misinterpreted the message of go-getter. We are not becoming deserving, but we want to desire and fulfill our desires. That is why aggression, jealous, fear, everything is taking over us.
I think you said it beautifully, and I'm also reminded that you used to practice silence for a number of days or month altogether. So, how silence helps us in probably developing a sense of patience and connecting with our inner joy, and takes away noise. Uh, but we are constantly in need of engaging our mind with some activity or some thought. So, how difficult, easy, and how important it is to practice silence.
Oh, it's one of the most powerful tools. And I'm surprised that in in yoga, silence is given a great importance and people never realize it. The ancient pattern of yoga said, practice and make, master yourself in one asana. And when you are doing asana, you're not supposed to speak. So actually, yoga is a wonderful indirect way of teaching you silence only. When you are meditating, you are silent. When you're doing yoga, you are silent. And when you go to even Vipassana, what they are actually teaching you, Preksha Dhyan, is all about silence. Silence, the first condition of silence is patience. So when I am practicing silence, actually, I am practicing patience. When I'm practicing silence, I get to know how much background noise is there in my head. And when I'm practicing silence, I have to answer a lot of difficult questions that I have been avoiding myself. And finally, I get to know the person I never wanted to see, which I was trying to hide from the world. And that is why silence can be a life-changing experience.
I think the way you described the potential way in which silence transforms you internally, you become more open to appreciate people as they are rather than imposing your self-created idea about who they are. And I think that is very much needed in our world for existing together with harmony. How important hope is in our lives, and many times there are certain events and some pattern of events takes away a sense of hope, uh, and some people say that if you are hopeful then you are being impractical, or you are like the pigeon who would close his eyes and would assume that the cat is not there. So talk to me about both sides, and that would be the concluding part for this conversation.
So it's about learning to see a ray in the cloud. So only a fool will say that if there's a cloud and you are saying there is no ray, there can't be any ray, you are realistic. You are pessimistic. If there is a ray, I will wait for it, and I will look for it is the optimistic way of living. And more than hope, I love the word trust. So I want to say, don't live in hope, live in self trust. There's a beautiful short story that there was a village which was going through a drought, and they decided to do a Havana for the rain. The whole village came for the prayer and Havan. But there was only a small boy who came with an umbrella. So that is trust more than hope. So I
Wonderful.
would love to say, be in trust, be in self belief, always believe in the ray, never be doubtful about the clouds. That's most important thing in life.
I think that's a beautiful story. And on that positive and optimistic note, in spite of dark clouds, let us um, train ourselves to look at the ray of light. And that beautiful, wonderful, powerful message coming from Dr. Nitin Saraswat. Thank you very much, sir, for joining
So thank you
us.
for having me.
And the kind of world which we have right now, and the challenges that we face, and a lot of aggression in that situation, to develop patience is lifesaver for ourselves as well as for others. And I think it was a very, very meaningful conversation. So once again, as I thank with good wishes for you, Dr. Nitinji, lots and lots of good wishes for our viewers. Thank you very much for being a part of this enlightening conversation. This is Ashok Vyas.